The recording has started, Bevan.
Good morning and welcome to the 2020 Virtual Forum for Excellence. The session this morning is Open Educational Resources, OER, for Adult Education Courses, First Steps. And our presenters this morning are Kimberly Hitchcock and Kathleen Baker from the City Colleges of Chicago and Jeff Newell from ICCB. Your moderator today is Bevan Gibson from SIPDC, myself, and Todd Jorns from ICCB will be providing technical support. Thank you.
Hey, Kimberly, can you hit that little hide button at the bottom, the little white box? Perfect. You're muted, Kimberly. This is just me. Kimberly, you're okay. I can't hear you yet, Kimberly. Your microphone is muted.
I can, there. Okay, I am so.
Perfect. Start over.
Okay, I cannot. Okay, there we go. I'm very sorry. Okay. Let's try that again. Thanks everybody for being flexible with the technology. I think we've all learned that over this last 6 months to be flexible with technology. So yeah, this slide is very similar. We are talking about the first steps of a project that we were involved in that included open educational resources. So Kathleen Baker and myself and 2 other educators were involved in a curriculum project for a college transition class this summer for a blended learning project. And we were able to include OER. So we're just going to share a little bit about our experience and some basics of OER. And then Jeff Newell will close us up at the end to talk about OER on the state level. So we were told into our project that we would not be using traditional textbooks. And I was going to put kind of a fearful looking emoji on here. But anyway, we really, have always taught with textbooks. And so that was felt a little intimidating, but we were actually very pleasantly surprised to find so many resources on the web that were free. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. I have a video here, and another way we need to be flexible with technology is that the video doesn't show sound from the Whova app, and so I have a link that I was told would work well if I put it in the chat, so I'm going to do that, and then I'd like for everyone to just watch it. It's an introduction to OER, and we'll come back in 3 minutes and continue the presentation. So it's just a short intro that I wanted to include in the presentation. So does everybody see the link in the chat? So on the right, you've got options for Q&A and chat and community. So I put the link in the chat. So I'm just going to give you the opportunity to listen and come back in 2 minutes.
Kimberly,
Yes.
people are saying that your screen is showing that you're muted and they're not hearing you.
Okay, so I am showing that I am not muted.
Todd?
So I can turn it on off. So you can hear me.
I can hear you. Yeah.
She's
did
unmuted.
People hear nothing? Did anyone hear anything? Kathleen said only in the beginning, so she can hear me.
Okay. Maybe it's the individual
Rich
having
says
problems.
he can hear. Kendra says she can hear. Thank you, guys.
Okay. All right, good.
Log out, log back in. Who's
Okay,
having trouble hearing,
thanks.
log out, log in.
All right.
You want me to exit and come back in?
No, you go ahead.
Just the person who's having trouble
Okay.
not hearing should log out and log back in. You're fine.
Maybe there were comments from the very beginning when I did actually have my microphone off. So I'm just putting the link on. Thank you, everybody, for responding. So I'll just put the link right back in there so that everyone doesn't have to scroll up. Thank you. Okay, it looks like everyone can hear me now. And we will just come back in a couple of minutes from the video so that you can hear. Okay, yeah, I think everybody's got it, so you don't have to continue to respond, but thank you. Okay, so I'll assume people are starting the video. Okay, a reminder to join the audio of the whole presentation.
You'll have to share your screen again, I think, to share the audio.
So I was told that Huva did not, wasn't able to share audio for a video. So I was told to put the link in the chat so that people could click on it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. I just want to make sure everybody can still hear me. And I'll continue. So I apologize if you didn't get a chance to finish it. I know it's a slightly non-traditional way of showing a video, but it's what we had available. So anyway, so I think this just it's kind of a very promotional video to talk about a lot of the benefits of how it's affordable. It makes it accessible as long as the technology is accessible, and innovative, creative, collaborative OER. And in this presentation, this is what we're going over: understanding what OER is and how it works, tips to find resources, our own example, and then to learn about OER in Illinois and community colleges. And please feel free to participate in the chat. I will not be able to see the chat as I'm speaking, but as we can respond to your comments and questions at the end. So a little bit about OER, the definition. There's 5 R's of OER, which I'll talk about in a minute. They're for educational use, and they are resources to support teaching and learning. So there are all these free resources online and not just individual random worksheets, which I kind of pictured at the beginning, but there are entire textbooks that are really good and well done. Video, images, games, assessments. You can find all kinds of things online that are open. So these 5 R's characterize what OER is, or how they work. So you can retain it. So in terms of keeping it forever, you can reuse it for your own purposes. My favorite 2 are the revise and remix. So if you're able to get a resource and download it, a lot of times you can adapt it, you can copy paste, you can paste resources, you can combine resources, you can cut, you can add your own. And so I really like this because you know, a lot of times you're given in a class, you might be given a core, you know, 1 textbook, and sometimes that's all, you know, the institution can afford is the 1 textbook, but this really allows teachers to combine resources that can match the objectives of the course and the needs of the students. And so it's a really good, can be a really good option. And redistribute, you can share it. So all under copyright, right? So this is a little bit of what I've just said, but it allows you to, OER allows you to customize, of course, save costs. I will say, as long as I know the institution would have to figure out the technology side, that's, you know, that's one thing that needs to happen, is to make sure that students can access technology. And I know that all of the institutions have kind of scrambled on that one. But, you know, and once the technology is there, it really does, you know, provide cost savings. So you can enrich, you can enhance and not replace materials. So with textbooks, you know, you might get an outdated textbook, but you've got a few things in there that you love. I think of the Azar series, where, you know, some of us just love some of those charts, but we've, you know, abandoned it as a core text many years ago. But you can keep some of those things. You can, you know, with OER, you can copy, paste, and enhance, and benefit from what's new, keep what was, you know, what was good from before. And then you can have some more of the current research. And it's available immediately and from anywhere. So just real quick on the licensing, there's different licenses through Creative Commons for copyright. And so it's good to know which license the various resources have. So it's good to check that. And so these icons each represent different licensing, and without going through all of them, it's good to be aware of what you can and can't do with OER. Sometimes you just simply need to attribute the author's work, and that's all you need to do. The idea here being, if you distribute it, you've got to do the same thing. Here, you know, don't sell it. And here, I think this maybe is a little unusual. It doesn't reflect what I was just talking about, but this one requires verbatim only. So just good to be aware of those. Through Creative Commons, this is the organization that licenses OER. These are some places that you can find OER. There are many collections, repositories. We found a lot of ours on OER Commons. We also found them just looking at some of the different community colleges that we know do some innovative things in various areas. We looked into Portland, Oregon. We looked into Minnesota, Georgia, and found some great things from those community colleges, as well as through here. This meta finder is acronym MOM, and you can actually find quite a lot through that. It's the idea is that it searches the other search engines, and so that so these are some places. There are also a lot of other repositories, and at the very end of this presentation, if you're able to access it, which I believe you can, then you can actually see a much longer list, but I just am sharing a few here on this slide. For adult education, there is one here that is specifically for adult ed. There's a couple hundred resources, so it's not extensive yet, but I think it's got a lot of potential to become there, so people can also search and see if that one has what you're looking for. So you're really doing a Google search for these, OER, and then the search terms. And as you often do on a Google search, you have to try sometimes a lot of different terms to get what you're looking for. Skip that one. So an example from OER Commons that I just did a search for ESL beginning textbook and found this wonderful speaking and listening textbook that's downloadable. And that is, you've got the licensing down here. You can download it usually into a couple different formats. For our search, we were trying to find resources appropriate for our college transition course at the 4 different colleges. So a lot of us did this OER, search for OER academic writing, ESL writing, writing for ELLs, etc. And this is one of the, not the one that we finally decided on, but one of the ones that we kind of chose or looked through to choose. Some questions that we considered, and this might be something you want to add to the chat, even though I can't see that right now, but you might add some ideas here. Of course, when you're selecting textbooks, you have questions that you're considering. And so a lot of these are just the same. You ask the same questions to select an open educational resource in terms of student learning outcomes met, whether materials aimed at adult learners with goals and at a similar reading level. Are the readings interesting? Are they relevant to things the students would be interested in? Does it provide enough depth? This one's maybe a little more appropriate for blended learning, but depth for asynchronous study as well as digestible pieces for quick reference and synchronous presentation. Number 5, we were pleased to find some authentic student writing samples, and so one of the resources we chose had those. And number 6, I think this is really important for the adaptation of OER. Does it download into editable format, such as Word? Does it have an open license? You want to make sure that if you want to revise it, which I, again, think is important that you can do that. Is it easy to navigate through? So one of our resources was quite long. Actually, a couple that we found were pretty long, a couple hundred pages. So can you navigate through the table of contents? Does it have a good search feature that you can find what you're looking for? So those are some things that we were considering when we were searching for OER materials. So that is the end of my introduction. So I'm going to hand this over to Kathleen as the speaker, and she is going to talk about our project for curriculum for the college transition.
Okay, so when we first, and Kim, are you going to go to that? Yep, same. Thank you. All right, so our first step was to go in and to find the different resources that might fit our objectives. So before that, I guess actually we had to redefine. We added to some of the new objectives for the course, and wrote up a new description. And then once we had new objectives, we knew what to kind of look for the materials, textbooks that might meet our needs. You could go on to the next if you want, Kim.
Let's see, Kathleen, you're breaking up, so I'm not able to hear you too well. I'm advancing through the slide.
Okay, so good. So we looked at what the skills needed were for the students. So we were looking for primarily in our instance, we were looking for a writing book. But we also looked for, we do speaking, we do listening, presentation, and ESL in the transition level. So we looked for different resources that meet all of those different needs. Okay. And Kim, you could go to the next one if you want, or if you want to zoom in on there. This is a view of all the objectives for the transition level. So our task in transition is to get students ready to transition to the college level classes. So that's what we were looking for.
And I'm actually not hearing Kathleen hardly at all, even though.
Can other people hear me, maybe? Could I ask? Are other people able to hear? Okay, great. All right. So then the next thing we're looking at is that we're delivering our courses within an 8-week time period. And so we had to find something that was manageable within that 8 weeks, but yet also that had enough so that if we have students who are repeating our courses, we can kind of refresh our course and, you know, bring in some new materials hitting the same objectives. Okay, so step 2, we're looking for the OERs that meet as many objectives as possible, and give enough variety. And Kim, if you go into the pictures. Okay, so this is a variety of some of the things we found. We're using as one of our core texts Writing for Success, which is a great one. We are using some writing workbooks that had something that was a little bit more presentable within the class. And the transition listening and speaking is one of my favorites, so that's something I use every week in my transition class. And I want to mention that this writing book I'm using for 5 classes that I'm teaching. It's excellent. So it was really, really exciting to find, you know, such a wealth of information out there. And again, so you see that it has a PDF version, it has the Word version. This particular one came with like presentations ready-made to do also, as well as the exercises. You can go to download chapter by chapter or however you want to do it. So it works out really, really well. Okay, thank you, Kim. You could go to the next one. So our step number 3, we had to create a pathway, and we tried to, again, put in the objectives that teachers are trying to meet, and then find exercises just as examples of some of like the stronger exercises that teachers might want to go to and where those resources were. So we created a general pathway for each of the sections, the modules we created. That we thought teachers should focus on. And then we, again, went to the resources and found examples of what they might go to for each section, some of the strongest ones. We created teacher-facing resources, and then we also created some student-facing resources so that for those students who are, if it's asynchronous, they could go and see just some examples of what was going to be. So this is just giving you, again, the example of what we created and uploaded later for the teachers. And we put links so that they, you know, it was easy to use for them, hopefully. Our goal is for it to be easy. And again, we just kind of combed through things ourselves so that we could see what were some of the best, you know, exercises and to meet those particular things. And then going to step 4. Okay, so then we loaded all of our resources and the content onto our Brightspace. So we put up like the master shelf for the teachers. and put again all of the resources that were the top ones, like the core materials we chose to use. So those are available to teachers, but they were able to just distribute them as they saw fit. And this is just an example again of our master shell. And then, so again, using Brightspace as the medium there. And then this is an example of a student-facing resource that one of our team members created. And what's great is that you're able to find these materials. So, like you can link to an interactive practice for students on grammar. Then you have a little video so that they're getting some practice with listening and engaged in that way. And then we have like an assignment thing. We put in something for them to go ahead and submit writing, and we opened up the discussions for them. So we're able to find different materials that gave it like a multimedia effect, which I think is more engaging for students. You could go to the next one, Kim. And again, what I think a lot of teachers, when we introduced this to them, I think they were happy to see that so much was there, and it would be easier for them to use. And step 5 is we actually just kind of implemented using them. So this is an example in my classroom. This is doing something from listening and presenting, something I found from, I believe from Portland, maybe. They have something based on a series called Academic Encounters. And I try to use this every week because it has video, it has little like maybe TED Talks or videos to listen to. It has PowerPoints already with it. It has academic words ready. Then it has pre-listening questions. It has prediction questions. There's just so much there. And the students enjoy it, and it makes my teaching of this very easy because the lessons are well designed. This was a huge find for me. I loved it. So this is an example of, a post that I put up for my students so they see what they need to do for homework. And then this is the next day when we're actually doing the discussion. And the students seem to really enjoy it. I post the video. So, the day before, we'll go through the vocabulary. We'll go through the pre-listening kinds of discussion questions. And then I will post the video for them so that they can go through it and watch it on their own. Then we watch it together and stop to talk about any questions that they might have. And then we go over the discussion questions, which they had access to already to think about as they're the day before when they're doing their homework. So I think that the really great thing about it is that students have a chance to really go at their own pace. So if we're moving at a pace that might be, a little bit faster in class, they have a chance to go home, they're at home, but to do it at their own pace, to digest it. And then when we're in our class discussion, to really go over and use that time for asking questions or for contributing to the discussion. So I'm really, really happy with what we found. I want to say that on our part, like working on this was a nice opportunity, but for me, one of the absolute highlights of that work we did over the summer was finding out about OER, because this is like finding a fountain that is constantly going. There's new stuff. There's so much out there, and again, so multimedia and constantly being replenished. And again, just the fact that there's so much to choose from, but I don't feel like it's overwhelming, but instead I feel like it's giving us enough that we can refresh what we're doing on a regular basis. And the other thing that I would say about this is that it's also offering a really exciting opportunity for people to contribute too. So let's say, for example, I went to City Colleges myself, and one of my teachers who is now retired, who was such an excellent teacher, she has a curriculum that she wants to share that she used for years with her students. and in literature and writing. And so I was so happy to share with her that this is an opportunity for her to get that out there without having, and again, with the purpose of sharing and leaving something of value. It's a good way to be able to do it without having to go through if someone's not looking necessarily just to go through the regular forms of publication. So again, you have the synergy there that is really, really nice to draw from. And again, it's like finding a fountain. I said it's like finding a wallet full of money that you don't have to return, but it's like finding something that replenishes itself constantly. So that was our experience. At first, we were not planning on using these OERs, but then when we learned about them, I think we were incredibly happy to see what is out there and what is possible. And I am teaching 5 classes, a couple at city colleges and also at another institution, and every single one of them, I am using some of these OERs. And at one of the schools, the students, not at city colleges, but at another school, students were very concerned about having to spend money on textbooks. And as a mother of a college student, I totally understand this. But so, this again, it's like you're able to share this great gift with them because it's something that is very, very usable, very, very useful. And yet there it is, it costs nothing. And it's so easy to share as long as everybody has a computer, all right, or a phone or whatever. Okay, so again, it was a wonderful, wonderful find. And I have been telling everyone who will listen to me about OERs. So, okay, Kim. As we're finishing up, then I think we're ready to go on to Jeff Newell, who is the Deputy Director of Information Technology of the Illinois City College Board, and he's going to give a few words about his own knowledge and use of OERs too.
Thank you. There we go. Now I'm seeing my camera. Hello, everybody. I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in Illinois with OER. And just to frame it, I want to say that I think OER fits within the community college mission. Access and affordability is one of the cornerstones of the community college mission. And free OER materials increase educational equity by eliminating textbook costs as a funding barrier for students. It also ensures access to class materials day one, aiding in student success, retention, and completion. Colleges are beginning to integrate and adopt OER in some various ways. We're seeing it throughout the system. Colleges are adopting open textbooks or open resources generally to reduce textbook costs, and some are adopting large textbooks like Intro to Bio and things like that from OpenStax. OER-based courses are being marked in course schedules for students. It allows easy identification of low-cost and no-cost textbook courses. We're also seeing colleges put savings trackers on their website so that students in the community can see the reduced cost for textbooks that's taking place at the colleges. And then colleges are also adopting OER or textbook cost reduction initiatives and implementing committees to sort out how best to approach OER usage at the colleges. And then in Illinois, generally, you can advance a slide. Back in 2018, we really started to see OER or some movement in OER. There were 2 summits held in November of 2018, and one was the Illinois Community College OER Summit. And that was put together by College of Lake County and College of DuPage. And there were over 200 community college faculty, staff, and administrators that attended that to look at how we can move forward with OER in Illinois. And at the same time, the Midwest Higher Education Compact had an OER policy and implementation summit for the Midwestern states that are in their compact about how at a policy and statewide level, how OER could be moved forward. There has been a number of OER stakeholder meetings that have been held since that time. And those are attended by people from institutions, by people from the education boards, and members of various organizations such as Carly and NILROC, which are library groups, and ILCO, a distance education group, and other interested parties. I want to mention Carly, which is the academic library consortium that our education institutions are a part of. They've purchased a consortial membership to the Open Education Network, formerly known as the Open Textbook Network. And with that, higher education institutions in Illinois can also join OEN as an allied member for $500 and take advantage of the services that that organization offers. They're also in the process of developing an OER hub in Illinois. So we will have an Illinois-focused OER repository that will be available for faculty and for institutions to take advantage of. You can advance the slide. And I want to mention that at ICCB, we've been we engaged OCRL, the Office of Community College Research and Leadership at the U of I, to do an environmental scan in the career and technical education area. And with that, there was a specific focus that they were looking at on what community colleges are participating in OER, who has created OER material, and what is shaping the development of OER at those institutions, and then the relationship within and between institutions utilizing OER in the CTE area. And their report back to us is due next month. And then following up on that, they're going to conduct some additional research on perceived barriers to adoption and what hinders integration of OER in community college CTE courses, gateway courses, and programs of study. And then they're also going to publish some podcasts and blogs for us to provide information to the system on OER-related items such as promising practices in OER, OER and universal design, scaling up OER in community college CTE, and the role of community college librarians in building capacity for OER. Next slide. So there was also some additional work that we'd intended to get done last year, and of course, as with many things, it got delayed because of COVID. But we've been coordinating. The state education boards had been coordinating with MEC on a state leaders meeting in Illinois to try and help get leadership involved in a more systematic statewide plan for advancing OER. I'd also started a communications OER work group to look at what materials would be appropriate to meet the learning objectives of the IAI communication courses. And ILCO and NILROC had developed an OER conference that we were going to hold last April. And so that got put on hold. And we're meeting again soon to be planning that, to do that again. And we'll probably look at moving that to be a virtual conference and try and hold that in the spring. But we're committed to having that conference go. So we'll work on that. And then also there was a group of us that had put together a statewide survey for higher education institutions that we were going to release last spring. And that's actually prepared, but that would help us to understand OER usage as well at higher education institutions. And so we will look at our ability to maybe release that again sometime release it this academic year so that we can get some information about the landscape as well beyond than the CTE area. Next slide. And then I just want to leave you with one thing. If you haven't seen this, there's a free OER book on OER. So if you're asking the question, how do I get started? I want to make this as a recommendation, and the link is on the screen there, but I'll put it in the chat as well. But it's a free OER book by Abby Elder, who's an open access librarian at Iowa State University, and hits on topics, some of which have already been discussed today, but things like finding and evaluating OER, copyright, teaching with OER, open pedagogy, diversity and inclusion, accessibility and usability, and creating OER. So that's a good resource if you're looking to sort out how to get started. So thank you. That's what I had today, and I'll turn it back over to Kim and Kathleen, but I think we're at question time now. So if anybody has any questions, we're glad to entertain those.
Deborah Jacobs had a question about wanting to know what that resource was called again. And Todd, I don't know if you could unmute her. I asked her if she was able to speak and she did not respond. So if you could unmute her, maybe she could ask her question, because I wasn't clear what the resource was.
What was the
Her
name?
name is Deborah Jacobs.
Do I need to unmute her? I'm sorry.
No, I'm trying.
No.
I clicked on
Am
it.
I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
We can hear you.
Okay. The resource I was wondering about was the last one that Kathleen talked about. She said it when she first started, and then I didn't write it down quick enough.
So was it the listening and presentation one? Is that what you're looking
Maybe.
Okay, so real quick, I'll just say that the writing one that I mentioned before that, I'm gonna look it up exactly to make sure I give you the exact right number here. So the writing that we're using, one of the writing books, is called Writing for Success, and then the listening is, I'm gonna just pull it up real quick here. The listening that I am using that I like so well, let's see, is called Listening and Presentations, Speaking and Listening Presentations. And it's based on the Academic Encounters series. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but that is a really incredible resource. We had the textbooks at Daly College, and so it's a series of, they have actual little videos to watch. They give a PowerPoint and they give a lesson plan.
So it's called Speaking and Listening Presentations.
Yes, and I'm trying to get into my Brightspace real quick so I can give you the exact. The exact. Let's see. Okay.
And while she's looking for that, if anybody has some comments about ways that you've used OER, or if you teach a class that you've used it in, we would love to hear, or you could type it in the chat, or you could chime in after this part.
Yeah, so the one that I'm telling you about is called ESL College Transition, Listening and Speaking. And it's actually from Lane Community College. So College Transition, Listening and Speaking, and it's coming from Lane Community College. And
Okay, thank you.
sure, and if somebody were teaching a listening and speaking class, like a conversation class at a higher level, this would have enough, to teach like a year long. I mean, maybe more than that. I do one lesson from one unit per week, let's say, and it's a lot. So it's really a good, excellent resource.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Anybody else have comments or questions about how they've, either questions about the presentation or things that you would contribute to our presentation about how you've found OER useful?
I don't see any, Kimberly.
Okay.
I would like to just add that in looking up different, again, there's so much, whether you're looking for academic English, whether you're looking for like more of a practical based workplace English, there are whole things on specific trade related. So there, again, it's just incredible what is out there, and it's so nice to be able to use these resources without worrying about, copyright infringement, and being able to share these great things. And yet there are lesson plans that are ready made that you can alter, but there's so much that's done. It just makes our job so much easier as teachers.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to share again our contact information. I believe there was a question about that. So I'm just going to share and go to the end of my presentation, which had our contact information on there. And actually, as I had promised, if you're able to access this resource, which I think you're supposed to be able to access the PowerPoint, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are a lot of other resources here. You can kind of drive yourself crazy if you want, but you know, I just had given a few earlier, but these you can feel free to, you know, obviously look through. And that is this is our contact information, so if you want to contact us for any reason.
Okay, thank you, Kimberly and Kathleen and Jeff. And for everyone's information, the handouts or the PowerPoints are under the handouts section in the Whova app. So if you want to download any PowerPoints that are there, they're in the handouts section. And I think at this point in time, I would like to wrap this up. Todd, if I can.
You should just go ahead and share your screen, or someone unshare. Just grab it now.
Yeah, I just unshared.
Okay. We want to, excuse me. We want to thank you for your attendance. Please be sure to complete the end of the session evaluation. It can be found in the app under this session. You just go to rate the session there. We also would like for you to follow us for forum updates, giveaways, engagement, and information. Hashtag Forum for Excellence 2020. Hashtag Excellence for Equity. We have also on the Adult Professional Development Network has Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and CTE has the same Facebook and Twitter, and ICCB has Facebook. The Mosaic Wall is coming together, as you saw a little bit earlier this morning if you were in the pre-keynote. And so watch it come together. You can look at it live on the app anytime today between 8:30 and 12:30, and you can see your agenda for details. We'd like to thank again our sponsors, Burlington English, HiSET, GIST, Essential Education, and Illinois ACTE, and New Readers Press. Thank you all to our speakers for sharing your knowledge, and you all have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.